Joining me now is a man that holds a 21 1-1 record with 12 KOs. He's currently the WBO's number 10 ranked middleweight contender, and he goes by the nickname White Magic. That's Vito Mielnicki. Vito, appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
I appreciate you having me on. I know it's been a hectic day trying to get me on here, but we got it done.
Absolutely, man. Well, first things first, I have to ask you this one question. You go by the nickname White Magic. What's the backstory behind that?
Yeah, so I got my nickname White Magic from K Karoma, head coach K Karoma.
Okay.
I don't know if you know. You should know who K is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was fighting. I was like 9 years old, probably. In the amateurs, I was fighting one of his fighters at one of the shows in Jersey, and
Mhm.
I beat one of his guys. And after the fight, he really just put his arm around me and he was like, "You know what? From now on, we'll call you White Magic." And then I made it my Xbox gamer tag. And then just yeah, like I said, it stuck.
I love that. Well, let's get into your most recent fight. It was an incredible performance. I know we'll talk about your Conor Coyle fight a little bit later on, but obviously you even talk about that after that. It wasn't the fight you wanted to go out there and fight. I feel like you made your good redemption in your most recent fight against Camille. Walk us through this a little bit, though. Do you feel like that was a great performance? Do you feel like that was the night you wanted to have?
Yeah, definitely. It was more just a great performance in my eyes because we did exactly what we wanted to in terms of what we did in the gym.
Right.
I didn't, veer away from the game plan. Coach Ronnie and I, we had a game plan, and I feel as though we mastered it throughout the camp, throughout sparring, and I did exactly that all 10 rounds. It
Hmm.
was a sweep. Of course, you would want to get this guy out of there, but he's a tough guy from Poland. These guys are tough. He came to win. No guy comes halfway across the country with his whole family. 20 different people in his shirt coming there to lose. This guy came to win,
Hmm.
and we shut it all down right from the get go and dominated 10-0 and dropped him in the third round as well.
Right. When you look back at that fight, I'm sure you've now broken it down, watched some film on it. What were some takeaways from yourself? Is there something that you looked at and said, okay, I still can get better in this area. I want to improve going forward here?
Yeah, always. Coach Ronnie and I, when I get back down to Houston, we'll sit down and watch the fight.
Okay.
But I've watched it several times as well. I definitely do think, it would have been great to get this guy out of there. But just little things that, I could tell in my defensive game, little things on the inside. I felt as though I used my jab really well. I showcased my legs a lot towards the end, like the last 2 rounds. So there was a lot that I did well, but a lot that I could also work on. I'll look it over with Ronnie, and then I'll go from there.
When you get a headline, a fight back home, how special is that?
Man, it's truly a blessing to be able to, be at the Prudential Center where I used to go to as a kid,
Right.
and watch big fights, watch basketball games, watch concerts. But for it to be my name on the big stage, main headline, man, it's truly a blessing. A kid from Jersey fighting at the Prudential Center,
Mhm.
Essex County area where I'm from. It's just extremely, just like I said, a blessing because I see all my supporters from around where I live, my supporters from gyms I used to go to growing up,
Mm.
everyone there, to support me. Um, God's plan is great, and I'm going to continue to walk on the path that He has paved for me for sure.
I love what you just said there, and I actually want to follow up on that. When you talk about your relationship with God, how big has that been helping you get to where you're at today?
Man, I feel as though I dove deeper into my faith in the last like year and a half for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously growing up, made my communion, made my confirmation, was baptized, obviously, and grew up in a Catholic household. Not like a very practicing Catholic household. Like didn't go to church every Sunday,
Sure.
but I feel as though when you go through a lot in life, certain things the last few years I've been going through,
Mhm.
you find that relationship with Him, and I realized that I could surrender a lot to Him and everything to Him, and I'm basically just walking on the path that He already has paid for me. My plan is already set in stone. I'm basically just living in it.
You talk about that transformation in a sense, and that has to be the case for everybody. At some point, you're always going to reach that point where it's like, you know what? It can't be my parents' faith. It can't be those people. It has to be my own personal relationship.
Yeah.
As you've seen that now settle into yourself and become, your own personal relationship, how would you say this now changed you as who you are as a person, both inside and even outside of the ring?
Yeah, like I said, like just living my life freely. Just
Mhm.
being where my 2 feet are, not looking too far ahead, not looking back in the past, just being right where I am in the present and enjoying every moment.
I love that. Now, you're 23 years old, Vito, and you've already going back to it. You're headlining at a place that you probably dreamed of as a kid growing up to headline in. When you talk about already accomplishing some of these things that you've done at this earlier in age, what else are some future goals you have for yourself? Where do you want to see yourself go from now after already everything you've done?
Yeah, I mean, this is just the beginning. So,
Mm,
I'm 23 years old. I've been fighting since I'm 7.
right.
Had a deep amateur background, but I'm a young vet in the boxing in the professional ranks. Like I turned pro at 17. I'm 23 now. I'm 21, 1-1. I'm ranked across the board at 160 now with belts, these like ranking belts or whatever you want to call them. And I'm looking to step into bigger fights,
Mm.
whether that's against former world champions, whether that's against contenders coming up. I'm looking to step into bigger fights, and just keep climbing the ladder.
What are some of those fights you have eyed? Personally, for myself, I look at two fights that make a lot of sense within the top ranked branch. Jahai Tucker's in the mix right there, Troy Isley. I know those two seem like fights that would be very fun to watch. Are those fights on your radar, or who are some guys that you're kind of looking at right now?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Obviously, you see those guys in the top ranks. Obviously, down the line, top rank's gonna want to make those fights. My team and I, we haven't sat down, but obviously in the future, top rank's gonna want to make those fights regardless,
All right.
whether I want them, whether he wants them anyway. So it's gonna happen regardless. Um, I don't really nitpick guys. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not looking. It's just anyone who they want to present me and who makes sense
Hmm.
money wise, everything makes sense for my ranking. I wanted my team to sit down. I'll fight anybody. I've been fighting since I'm 7 years old, but at this point in my career, it's got to make sense.
I love that. All right, so I do want to get into your story though. People get to know you a little bit better, and you talk about one portion already. 7 years old, you started boxing, and now correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that you come from a family of wrestlers. You watched a Floyd Mayweather fight, and that kind of motivated you. Your dad ends up signing you up for boxing, and all of a sudden you get in a position where you're going to the middle of a basement of an old vacant church in Newark. Can you take us through this now? Like, what was it about boxing that so appealed to you? You said, you know what? I'm 7 years old. I want this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was very weird because, like we talked about football, I mean, I told you my brother, but football was my favorite sport. Probably still is.
Really? Okay.
Football is like probably still my favorite sport. I'm a diehard Jet fan,
All
so
right.
that in itself, I mean, if I'm dedicated to them, you know what I mean. They're not the greatest, but hey, we're coming up. But at that age, it was just like I came from a suburb in New Jersey and Newark, New Jersey. Whoever knows Newark, like where I was at Jamar Carter Project Turnaround, it ain't the nicest area. I'll
Right.
tell you that. So like when I went down there, it was like a little bit of like a like a shock to me. Like, oh wow, like I'm outside the bubble wrap. Like this is
Mm,
what it looks like outside. And the guys in there brought me in as family. It was like just by the third, fourth day, I didn't want to step out of that gym, and I fell in love with it. Just the atmosphere, the environment. Um, just looking at these guys like my older brothers that are in the gym. You know what I mean? I'm 7 years old. These guys are 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. Just we're laughing in the gym, having a good time. Just fell in love with it. Became a gym rat, and haven't looked back since.
when you talk about the one aspect that you go there, and now also correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe you also didn't like the first couple of days. It ended up
Yeah.
settling down for yourself day 4 or 5 or whatever it was. What was the turning point? Why did you all of a sudden say, you know what, I like this thing now?
I think just because I got comfortable, you know what I mean? I
Mm,
realized that I was in there and these guys accepted me. I think that
right,
these guys like they seen let's put it straight just they seen a little white kid coming down in there. Not many of them going in, down there fighting boxing,
right.
and they see me willing to put in the work. A kid that was just taking it all in, and even just me getting comfortable with the coaches. Like the first coach I had, he was like screaming in my face, like there was like spit flying out of his mouth, like and like I'm in there like bawling my eyes out, like get me out of here. And then my dad, he had signed me up for 30 days, and I told him after like the first or second day, I was like, listen, I'm not going back, I'm done.
Mm.
And he was like, "Oh, I signed you up for 30 days. Like you're finishing in 30 days." And thank God he said it because I wouldn't be here today.
All right. When you are 7 years old and you talk about the fact that football still probably even is your favorite sport, Did it ever cross your mind to say, "Hey, what if I go take football a little serious? Do I kind of balance this out?" Or what made you commit to boxing overall for your life?
Yeah, I think I realized that like, hey, I'm good at this. You know what I mean?
Mm,
I'm winning national titles.
right.
I'm competing at a high level. I'm getting better daily. I'm committing a lot of time, a lot of sacrificing a lot of time to this sport. And also I broke my arm in like seventh or eighth grade playing football,
Gotcha.
and my dad basically said, "Listen, you got to choose one," and I did. I chose boxing, and man, it was a decision that I honestly wish I could have played high school ball. You know what I mean? Because I
Mm.
was a good football player, but looking back at it now, look where I'm at now. Hey, I think we made the right decision.
Why did you make that decision at that point in time?
What my why
Yeah,
I chose boxing?
yeah. Like, why would you say you chose boxing at that point in time over football?
Because I football, like I have a team of not 10 other guys with me on the field.
Right.
Boxing, it was more of like I control my own destiny. Like if I'm putting
Mm,
in the work, I'm putting in the time. On fight night, it'll show. And
gotcha.
I feel as though like when I'm in there one on one, it's just me and another guy. If I can control the fight by doing what I do in the gym, working hard, sacrificing, doing what I got to do, then on fight night it'll show. And I felt like that aspect I think really lured me in.
When would you say to start to settle down for yourself when you said, you know what? I'm not just going to do this because I like boxing. I'm going to be very successful. I can become the type of fighter that you are today. When did that start to become a reality for yourself?
Probably like 14 or 15 years old.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's where like you start to, spar higher level guys. Like obviously
Mm,
at like 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, like even 12 years old, like you're good, you're sharp. But then like all these guys start to get better too. So
right.
um it was just at that point, probably like 14, 15, where I was still winning. I was still, proving that I belong at the top. I was still number one in the country. I made the junior Olympic team at 16 years old,
Mm.
going to the Olympic Training Center. And it was at that time where I was like, yeah, well, this is what I'm going to do.
I don't know if this story is 100% accurate either, but I believe that when you were 7 years old, you started really pursuing boxing, that your dad altered your birth certificate so you could go in there and fight against 9 year olds. Is that correct?
That is true.
All right.
That is
Which,
all correct. My dad put white out on my birth certificate, and I was fighting against like 8 and 9 year olds at 7. But like at 7, you're way different than you were at 9. Like you know what I mean? Like that's a big like gap, like because they're that growing stage. So yeah, that's definitely a true story.
All right, so you have to take us through that now. Having your dad put that much trust in you and saying, you know what, we're gonna get you in at this young of an age. How much better did that make you down the road then?
It made me a lot better. Even just in the gym, like my dad didn't care. If you know my dad, like he puts me in there with anybody. Growing
Mm,
up, he put me in there with anybody, and he knew I could hold my own. I'm a Mielnicki, you know what I mean? So
right.
that's how we looked at it, and hey, it worked out. And like I said again, look where we are now.
All right, so let's go through your amateur career. Just to name a couple accolades: four-time junior national Golden Glove champion, you're a member of the USA national team, and so many other things you accomplished. When you look back at that time of your life, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Having fun.
Mm,
I was like really having fun. I think at the point in like a professional career, you could start to like lose that.
mm,
I feel like this past camp, I really found that again. You know what I mean? Like in camp, I was having fun. Like I was
right.
enjoying it. I was just like a little kid in the gym again. And with all the money involved now, with everything else involved, it could become like more of like a job. But
Hmm.
I think you got to make it just you got to have fun because once you stop having fun with it, you got to be done with it.
Mm.
And I think that's where I'm at now.
That's an interesting statement you made right there because, I've had different people on before and they talk about, we need to go start inputting more money into amateur ranks. And I think that could obviously be a legitimate case. Guys do need to start getting paid money so they stop going to other sports for boxing. But when you talk about that, it keeps it more fun. You're still a kid. It's not this business aspect now. Is that something that you would say, if there
Yeah.
was more finances able to be given to amateurs, is that a good thing that's not that much right now? Or do you think there still should be some money put into amateurs?
It depends. I think at like that high level, like at that like Olympic level,
Right.
I know, and even like the youth team, like I know that they're paying guys if they win tournaments. Like, I think at that level it's okay, and I
Okay.
think even staying at the Olympic Training Center, like that's basically like a job. Like there's kids working at 16, 17 years old
Right.
making money. So if I'm staying at the Olympic Training Center and you're telling me I got to stay here, then yeah, they should be getting a stipend
Agree.
or something like that.
How do you then balance when you talk about the aspect of saying, you kind of lost your love for a little bit there as a pro? You're dealing with all these other aspects to the pro game. What keeps you in, and how did you find your love again for the sport?
Man, just like I said, just trying to block out all the other BS that
Mm,
comes with it. It's more than it's just a business at this point. Like,
right.
and I think just trying to find just like doing what you love again, not worrying about everything that comes with it, not the baggage that comes with it. Just remembering why you started, and
Mhm.
I feel like that alone made me realize like, hey, I'm ready to have fun with this again,
Okay.
and I feel like even in my performance, you could definitely tell. Like at the end, I was barely even breathing hard at the end. Like I enjoyed myself. I was having fun in there,
Mhm.
and obviously being at home, there could be a lot of pressure involved. But I was so locked in and just having fun. When you have fun, everything else like it just works. Everything else just clicks. So, and that's how I felt like it was on fight night.
How long did that drought where you weren't quite sure how much you love boxing? How long was that? Was that dating back to the Conor Coyle fight before then, or when did that start to kind of happen for yourself?
It wasn't like about the love. It was just like became so serious. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
obviously it's serious, but it's like you don't lose the love for it, but it's just like you realize what comes with it.
Mm.
But also going through a lot of stuff in my personal life, probably like the last year and a half, 2 years. Um, so probably like yeah, 2 years, like year and a half, 2 years, where it's been, going through some stuff, but hey, look where we're at. You know what I mean? I'm
Mhm.
blessed. I'm doing what I love, and obviously I'm making money.
Right.
I own properties as a 23-year-old. Like I'm blessed. I'm extremely blessed. So just enjoying the journey every step of the way. Just you know, God is great throughout it all.
Absolutely, man. All right, so let's go into your pro debut. You're 17 years old. You make that jump quite early on for yourself. You could have hypothetically made your mix into the Olympic run. Why did you choose to go pro right at the gate and not pursue the Olympics?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna wait till I was till 2024 because
Right.
at my age, I think the cutoff, like I missed the cutoff.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I was like, nah, I'm not waiting till 2024. And then also, my last fight as an amateur was in Spain. And I remember, like, I was already done with the amateurs, and I was like, man, I really like, I was burnt out from the amateurs. Like, it was a lot of going to tournaments,
Mm.
putting in the work, taking the time every day, coming home, going from school, going straight to the gym, staying at the gym all night, and then I go to tournaments and like the politics in amateurs. Obviously, there's politics in professional ranks too, but
Yeah.
and the amateurs sucked. And I was going there, I was winning fights, and I was loot, and I wasn't getting my hand raised. So I went to Spain and I fought one of the best amateur fights I've ever fought. Like I fought a kid from Spain in Spain at the tournament,
Hmm.
and they raised his hand in the first round of the tournament, and I was like, man, I'm done with this. I even told my dad, I was like, I'm gonna go play senior year football because I was like, let me go. I'm done with the amateurs. I was like, let me go play senior year football, and
Mm.
then it just so happened that I was getting lifting. It's a whole different workout than it is boxing for football. So I
Yeah.
wasn't in boxing shape, but I was lifting, putting on weight, ready to go out and play running back, safety, and ready to put the shoulder pads on, the helmet on, going into senior year. And then we got a call that we had an opportunity to be the youngest ever to turn pro in Jersey on a top ranked show at the Prudential Center and make my pro debut. And we decided to go that route at 17 years old. What a blessing that was. And yeah, that was a crazy night, and that was a crazy 6 weeks of my life. I only had 6 weeks to get ready for my pro debut. I cut
Wow.
from like 185 to like 147 because I was like getting ready to play football, and then we got the call for the pro debut, and we ended up going that route. Never ended up playing football, but like I said again, look where we are now.
All right, you have to elaborate a little bit more because I have no idea about that story there. So you're telling me then that at 17, you didn't know if you're going to continue boxing, whatever the case might have been. But regardless, you were set on playing at least your senior year of football at that point.
Yeah, so I was planning on boxing, but I was just planning on let me go out and have my last year of football. You know what I mean? Let me go play senior year of football, take a few months and go play, and then obviously turn pro later on. But I was like, it was like May. Yeah, it was probably like the end of May, like Memorial Day weekend, and I was getting ready to play, go out, start practicing with the team, like practice with the quarterback, work on stuff, and it was like 6 weeks before my debut. My pro debut was on July 13th of 2019. It was probably like first day of June or last few days of May. And we got a call. My dad was like, "Hey, like, there's an opportunity for you to make your pro debut at the Prudential Center
Hmm.
on July 13th." I'm like, "Are you serious?" Like, bro, I haven't been in the gym in like 2 months. Like, I'm getting ready to play football, running back. Like, I'm in a whole different state. Like, I'm not. I was like, absolutely not. He was like, just think about it. And I thought about it. Took me like a few minutes, not even. And I was like, this guy's crazy, but yeah, let's do it. And then we got the consent from New Jersey because nobody ever turned pro in Jersey at 17 before me. I was the first
Right.
ever to turn pro at 17 in Jersey.
Hmm.
Um, and then my pro debut was a movie. Got ready for that. Made Sports Center top 10. Those few days after my pro debut were like a movie. Like when I tell you, like my Instagram went from like 1,000 followers to like 20 something thousand followers, and then like people are noticing me. I'm getting contract deals from Golden Boy, Matchroom, Top
Right.
Rank, Al Heyman, and obviously I went the Al Heyman route, and Al Heyman's still my advisor to this day. But those few days, I was going to Everlast headquarters. Like I was one of the like I was the hottest prospect out at that point.
Hmm.
Coming off that debut, seeing the amount of tickets I sold like 2,500, 3,000 tickets at my pro debut.
Wow.
Um, and promoters obviously love that. They like asses in the seats, and I was a hot commodity, and they all offered me contracts. And I obviously went to Al Heyman for like I think it was 19 or 20 fights, and then obviously made the move to come over to Top Rank.
All right, so I have to dissect a couple of pieces you talked about there. The first one is obviously in the U.S. you have to be 18 to turn pro. Now, if you have special permission, I know there is a way to do it. You obviously did that. How was that process? How were you guys able to get in the ring and do a pro fight at 17 in the U.S.?
Yeah, Commissioner Larry Hazard. I thank him every time I see him because he was the one who got this started for me.
Right.
I think he just realized, my amateur accolades. He's from Jersey. He's just seen me at all these fights growing up, and he knew what I was capable of, and he gave me the go ahead and the green light to go ahead and turn pro at 17.
And then the other aspect, let's say you were to go to play football. You played your senior year out and things went well. Is there a chance that at that point in time you maybe never would have went pro in boxing?
I don't know because I don't know how that would have worked. I don't know if colleges look at like college look at a kid just coming on as a senior. Like, man, if I had an opportunity to play college ball at a big school, it would have been hard to tell me no. That's for
Really?
sure. But yeah, I think boxing is just I was born to do this.
Yeah.
I'm destined. This is my destiny, and this is my ultimate path. And man, I'm extremely blessed to be in the position I am now, and I'm extremely blessed that how it worked out the way it did.
That was kind of my second question I want to follow up on. Let's say hypothetically, we're looking at May, June-ish time of, your senior year, which would have been right around there. You have an offer to play at whatever school you want in the entire country for college football, or you turn pro and have the same opportunity. Obviously, it would be a little bit later on, but same opportunity for pro. Which one are you taking?
You're the first person who ever asked me this, bro. So I like this though because I never get these questions. I usually get like all the basic questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, man, it's tough, but because it would have been tough to turn down an education. Like I didn't go to school. I still haven't went to college.
Right.
Um, an education and an opportunity to play the game I love. I think I would have. I think I would have probably went to school and played college football, but I would have found my way back to boxing.
I like that answer.
Like because like I said, like this is what I was born to do. Like
Hmm.
um, my love is football, but is that me just loving it to watch it on Sundays? Like you know what I mean? Like
Good point.
who
Yeah.
knows? Like that's it. I love football. Like I love every part of football, and but like I said, that would have probably been it. I would have probably went if I was successful enough, like in college, like to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
Boy, let me tell you, I would have been fired up. But yeah, I don't know. That I would probably went to college, played college ball, but ultimately found my way back to boxing. I would be in this.
Mm.
I would be working my way up to this position because obviously the timeline would have worked out. But I would have been working my way up to be in the position I am now.
All right, so then you would say, okay, you take that opportunity. Obviously, we do the overall aspect, but you talk about going back to it. You said football overall. Sorry, football would be your favorite sport. You still like to watch. So if you're watching TV over on the weekends and there's a Jets game going on or a big boxing match, which one are you watching?
Jets game
Okay,
for sure. I'm watching a Jets game. Um, that's my squad. Yo, that's my team. I'm
all right.
watching a Jets game for sure. I watch enough boxing.
I do like that answer too because I feel like so many guys, and obviously there's nothing wrong, guys, that go all in on one thing. It's worked out great for many people, but still having that extra balance where you say, you know what, I love the sports, my job, but I also want to have a little bit of separation. Has that been
Definitely.
big for you? Kind of saying, you know what, my life, my identity, and everything wrapped up is not just me, Vito, the boxer. My life has so many more aspects to it. Has that been something that you've been kind of able to embrace now as you've gone through life?
I think I'm just starting to embrace it. Just
Okay.
realizing, it's more, and obviously boxing is like a small stint of
Yep.
every fighter's life. There's so much more after this. So, yeah, like I started playing golf now. Like I'm just
Mhm.
finding little things for my like idle time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, obviously, me and my girl spend a lot of time together. Um, it's more than just boxing for me too. Like you know what I mean? So, and like I told you before, my family is everything to me. Just spending time with them. Um, everything. Just like you said, it's more than just boxing.
Right. All right, so let's now head into that incredible pro debut for yourself. I know you gave us a story behind it all, but you also have quite the relationship, or at least it seems as though you have a relationship with Deontay Wilder because you make your debut with Wilder Ortiz 2. You fight later on in Wilder Fury 2. Is that something where you've had a relationship with him, or how these connections come to be a part of such great cards?
Al Heyman.
All right.
Al Heyman did a great job. Put me on big shows, big cards. You could tell like most of my fights were on major cards.
Yeah.
And even like throughout COVID, like I was the most active fighter throughout COVID. I
Hmm.
think I fought like 5 times throughout COVID. And nobody was fighting even once a year.
Yeah.
And I was fighting on big fights on Channel 5 Fox, in front of the world throughout a time where nobody was being seen.
Hmm.
And Al Heyman really gave me those opportunities, and ultimately I made the most of them.
I've always been someone that I know some people like to become, from the media at least, like to go all in on one promotion, say they're the best and whatnot. I feel like there's so many great promoters and they all bring different great attributes to boxing. But Al Heyman obviously is a very popular one. You know him better than most do. You've seen the way he's helped you and it kind of helped molded your career to this point. What is he like? What is he like outside of boxing from what people cannot access and see? What's he like as a person?
He loves his mother. He's a family person.
Mm,
Um, and he's a great guy, great person. Like ultimately cares for his fighters, cares for everyone around him, and takes care of everybody around him. Make sure everyone's good.
I love that. All right, so you go throughout your career, out of all the big cards you've been a part of, not including the ones where you've obviously headlined. So say, before you went to obviously the most recent stages, what was your favorite undercard that you were a part of?
Favorite undercard I was a part of. Mm, in terms of like the main event.
Yeah, pretty much that. Like just the overall atmosphere, the build up, everything along those lines. The best like experience you'd say you've been a part of, not with you headlining. What would that be?
Probably my Canelo. I think I fought on Canelo Munguia, right? Did I?
I believe so. I think that was the one. I can double check real quick.
Yeah, I
That
think it was
was,
Canelo Munguia.
yeah, it should have been. Yeah,
I fought Ronald Cruz. The build up to that fight, like at the press conferences, the fight week, um, everything about it. Yeah, probably that. That was probably my favorite, undercard.
right. And yes, you did. That was the card. Yep, that was Nokia
I
and
fought under
Canelo.
Ryan and Tank as well.
That's a good point. You did. Yeah,
So I was a part of a lot of good big fight weeks. So um, all of them were crazy. Not gonna lie.
right.
Like even like because the MGM Grand Arrivals, all those like that
That's
was
crazy.
all those were sick. So to be a part of all those at the age I was, it's crazy.
All right, so I do want to go to your very first hiccup you had in your career. James Martin, you end up going to that fight, your very first career loss. That for a lot of guys is detrimental to a lot of guys' mindset. When you take that first loss in your career, how did you handle from that?
Just making it a positive, not making it a loss, but making it a learning experience. And
Love
I
it.
think I did that. Making sure that, I was going into every fight, leaving it all, like not leaving it in the gym, but doing what I have to do in the gym. That fight, I didn't do that, and but I went against a Philly fighter who came in throughout COVID and had an opportunity, and he seized the moment, and I didn't.
You talk about a huge thing there. I feel like I've always said this for about guys. Obviously, the Floyd Mayweather era has made the O such an important, critical thing. But when you learn from losses, it can make you such a better fighter moving forward. How did you have that mindset? What instilled that in you? Just say, you know what? It's a loss. It is what it is. I'm going to bounce back. How did you have that right mentality?
Because I didn't have a plan B. This is
All
this is
right.
my plan. Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't have
Right.
nothing to fall back on. So this, I had no choice but to dig myself out of that hole that I put myself in. And like I said, I have a great team around me. Al Haymon at the time brought me right back home at the Prudential Center. It was set up for a rematch.
Yeah.
That night, I was on the phone with Louis, and Louis was like, "What do you want to do next?" And I was like, "I want the rematch." And they made that happen. It just so happened that James came in 8 pounds overweight
Yeah.
uh, on the way in, and I was like, "This ain't my father." My team was like, "We're not doing that." You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's that. And then they gave me every opportunity to build myself out of that hole.
I want to ask about that rematch situation because obviously that shows a lot about you to say, you know what, I want to get the rematch immediately. I want to get my get back. When that fell through and he comes in overweight and you have to end up fighting Noah Kid, then what was that experience like? That I'm sure that had to be a roller coaster. It's 24, what is it, 48 hours before the fight. What was that experience like?
It was more just like I don't know, like I was a little disappointed more, like
Yeah,
because I was like excited. It was at home. I wanted it to be in front of my hometown, and obviously flip everybody's mindset that they saw in my last fight live on TV. I headlined. I don't know. I didn't headline. I think Michael Coffey was the main event,
mhm,
but just to be able to change the outlook that people had on me from that one fight
right.
on that night, and then not being able to do that in that rematch, it sucked. But then you also have to flip the switch to know a kid um, and do what I had to do there.
All right, let's head into Connor Coyle. Valentine's Day. Three different belts were on the line for that fight. You guys end up in a majority draw. I know we kind of highlighted a little bit in the beginning of this, but now that you reflect back on that performance that night, what's your thoughts on it?
I felt as though I won. I felt as
Yeah.
though it was my greatest performance, not even close to my best performance or best Vito Mielnicki on that night. But even on then, I still felt as though I won 7-3, 6-4. Um, but hey, this is boxing. It is what it is. Did you watch the fight?
Yeah, I watched that one. Yep.
What'd
I
you
thought you,
think?
I think I was going to look back at my scorecard, but I believe I had you up by one round overall. So I think you should have won that one. I don't see the draw
Yeah.
there,
So
but
like even then though, like it was my first fight at 160.
yep.
He was ranked. He still is ranked number three in the BA.
Yep. I think I just got moved to
Um.
number two, I think, too, after this last fight.
Yeah. So listen, me going up to 60, fighting a guy 21-0, and I felt as though I won the fight. Yeah, I can make the fight way easier next time we fight.
Right.
But to be able to do that, I don't know. It is what it is. Like I said, it's boxing. Obviously, I would have loved to have walked away with my hand raised, but
Right.
just another instance of just facing adversity and fighting through it.
You moved up to 160 as you talked about there. When you add in that new aspect of not having to make the drastic weight cut, how much more confident does that make you now moving forward at 160?
Yeah, I'm definitely very confident. 160. Those 6 pounds are a lot for people that don't know how weight cutting is. Like those six
Yeah.
pounds kill you, man. So, and I also have a nutritionist. I just hired her for this fight. My last fight, my first time having a nutritionist. I felt great throughout camp. Even the weight cut was like very easy. Didn't have to kill myself.
Mm.
Um, and at to 160, like I still cut like a lot of weight, but those extra 6 pounds to 154 were killing me. And now that I have a nutritionist helping me out, making sure everything's right, it definitely helped me for sure.
You're only 23 years old. Obviously, your body's going to continue to develop as you get older. Do you feel like when you start making that title run, is that going to be at 160, or do you think when you start getting your belt, that's going to be possibly even at 168?
160.
All right. So you see
Probably,
yourself being there for a while then?
yeah, 160 will be where I'm at for sure.
Okay.
I feel really comfortable. I'm definitely, like you said, I'm still growing into my body, but 160 will be where I contend and win for my first world title.
Do you feel like eventually in the future you move to 160, or is 160 where you're going to be for the foreseeable future?
Definitely. I think just naturally, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what you do in boxing. So definitely for sure.
Going back to Connor Coyle real quickly. Obviously, both you guys are top ranked. It's been a draw. Is that a fight you want to get back one day?
Definitely
All right.
for sure. But like I said, it's got to make sense. Like,
Yeah.
if my team says, "Hey, that makes sense," then hey, let's do it. But if it doesn't make sense, if the money's not, you know what I mean, then
Right.
we move forward. Obviously, for me, I would love to fight him
Yeah.
just because that's as a competitor, that's what I would want to do. But it's got to make sense.
All right. Come with me before I let you go, Vito. One of which is talk about Ronnie Shields. He's been your trainer now. What's your guys' relationship like?
He's the best.
Mm,
Ronnie, as a boxing trainer, he's the best. He's the greatest of all time, and just as a person, he's even greater.
mm,
In the ring, in the gym, I've always looked for a trainer who's consistent, and that's literally you look up consistent in the dictionary, you see Ronnie's face. He's at the gym at a certain time. You know what you're gonna get out of him. Everything we do in the gym is consistent, and consistent hard work every day. That's what breeds greatness. So that's what we're working towards.
You talk about him outside of the ring, and I had a couple different guys as part of his group out on the show before, and they always say crazy stories about him. What's your favorite story of Ronnie Shields to this point in time?
Um, Favorite story with Ronnie Shields. I have so many, but I think it's just a little stuff in the gym, like just little stuff. Like my favorite story. All right, so probably my favorite story is when I sat down with Ronnie before my first camp with him, and he was like, all right, yeah, when you come down, like we got a lot of good sparring. And I was like, no problem, like you know what I mean. I didn't know. He was like, hold on, I'm gonna call somebody, and this will be who you're sparring. And we're sitting down at the table, and he called Jermall Charlo. And I was sitting there, and I'm like, "Yo, what's up? Who's this?" And I looked down at the phone. I saw Jermall. I'm like, "Damn, bro!" I'm like, "I'm about to spar Jermall, right?" So we get to the gym like a few weeks later when I first got to camp. Um, Go to Jermall's house to spar him. Like Jermall's got his gym in his house.
Right.
That was a blessing going there. And then I did probably 150 rounds with Jermall. It was just me and him. We were doing 8 rounds, 10 rounds. I had a
Mm,
clip. Um, and but just that probably just when Ronnie was like, "Yeah, I got a few guys in the gym that you're gonna get great work," and then it ended up he put me on the phone with Jermall Charlo. But like at that time, I was like, Jermall was somebody I watched, like you know what I
right.
mean. So to be, that's one funny story, but there's so many different funny, like great stories just being around Ronnie every day. Um, he's a great person. He's a family man, and that's what I want in a coach for sure.
How old were you when this whole situation happened with Charlo?
No, it wasn't long ago. It was probably like 2 years ago. So
Okay.
like 21 years old. But like I watched Charlo growing up. So it's
Yeah.
like that was somebody who like I was like Jermall Charlo, like one of the twins. Like that's crazy. And to be able to spar him, to be able to have a relationship with him as well, that's a blessing.
How were those rounds for you? And on top of that, as well, to follow up on that, what and how much kind of confidence they give you knowing that you could go in there and spar with a guy of that caliber?
Yeah, the rounds were like championship level rounds. And then on top of it, like every day in the gym when we would be sparring, there would be like famous rappers, famous football players
Mm,
like I watched growing up, like Andre Johnson, Chad
mm,
Ochocinco, like all these guys are in the gym. Basketball players, Rashard Lewis,
mm,
like rappers that are in there. And it's just like I'm performing. You had Showtime coming in there to record because he fought on Showtime. Like 50, 100 people in the gym just to watch us. Like it was like the word around Houston, like, yo, a great sparring going on at Ronnie Shields. Like Vito, this kid from Jersey sparring Jermall, like putting in
right.
great work. So it was just like it was a crazy experience for sure.
I love that. Well, I want to wrap up now talking about your future plans. Obviously, we know you just fought a few weeks ago now. When can we see you back in the ring? Is that something you've been discussing? When can we see you back in there?
Yeah, I'll probably be back in the ring. I'd say probably like November in the fall.
Okay.
Um, this will be the first summer I have to like enjoy myself in like probably 5 years. I've been in like training camp or fighting in the summer for like the past 4 or 5 years. So this will be the first time I have some time to just enjoy the summer with my family and everybody and just enjoy myself. So probably like November, I'd say.
Okay. So you'd say right now you just really want to focus in on kind of taking a step back a little bit, kind of taking a little bit of recovery for the next couple of months then?
Yeah, obviously I still train and everything, even like
Right.
now. But just, trying to like peel back a little bit and then when it's time to
Mhm.
hop back in camp, get back to camp. But yeah, I'm still putting in my work, doing what I gotta
Alright.
do. That doesn't stop.
So when you look at the next opportunity of whoever you're gonna fight then at that point in time, is this something we could see as another fellow rank guy, another guy's kind of building yourself up, or what kind of fight can we expect for that fight?
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe like former world champ,
Okay.
something along those lines, or a guy like you said, ranked, something like that. Just something like a level above, or levels above who I just fought. Like I'm just continue. That's what I want to do. Just continue to climb.
Now, we are already halfway through 2025, a little bit over halfway at this point in time. When you look at the next year, even year and a half, which would put you right about 2027 time, where do you see yourself at that point in time in terms of accomplishments, achievements? Like, where do you see yourself at that point in time?
What in the next what year?
Year and a half. So about, let's say let's call it year and a half, moving into 2027. Like, where do you see yourself in terms of accomplishments, where you stand, all those different types of things?
Ready to fight for my first world title.
All right. I love it.
Probably that's next year and a half. That'll be put me at what 24. Yeah, probably right there.
All right.
Ready to contend for my first world title.
I love it. Well, Vito, I have one final question for you. It's the question I like wrapping up every interview with. That's talking about your legacy. When that day does come, I know it's a long way down the road, but when you do put down the gloves, what is it you want to be remembered for what you have accomplished both inside and outside of that ring?
I want to be remembered as uh, a kid from Roseland that stayed humble and kind as he chased greatness and as he reached the goals and dreams that he always dreamt of as a kid.
I love it. Well, Vito, I appreciate you for taking time to come on in, man. It's been a blessing having you on here, and I cannot wait to see what God's got in store for you next, man.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Of course, you're always welcome on, man. God bless.
Yes, sir.